Allah is saying, most of you guys didn't even know what you're saying. Do you know what this means? This means all of us were there. What's your name, ma'am? Rabia. Rabia, you and me were there. You know how I said you and me? You and me were there together, Rabia. At the same time. No, you saw me and I saw you. Listen to what I'm saying here. What's your name, sir? Zan was there, I was there, Zan saw me, I saw him. We all looked at Allah Azza wa Jalla and said, I wanna do this. وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسان. We were together at that time. I'll tell you why I said you and I are together. Rabbi, you and I were together. Okay? Whoever you're going to meet, whoever you're going to interact with, whoever you are going to connect with, no matter what level, becomes a man of your own age, your own time, and people of the same time were all coming together in clusters. And all of us, of all time, were all spent in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal says, all of you guys came together. And in that cluster, you and I were standing together. And may he live a very long life, because if he lives a long life, inshallah he will. Because he and I was on the same cluster. Because kids, they didn't say yes. Don't ask me how to put that math together, but kids didn't. But if they reached adulthood, yes, they did. Because that's the test. That's the test. That's why no kid is going to be asked questions if he dies as a child. No matter how he dies. Lucky. No questions asked. We raising high hand in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla and say, yeah, you know what this is? We're going to take this up. Now, I'll tell you what the problem is. Torah, free. Talmud, free. Psalms, free. Injil, free of this ayah. Quran is the first book that says, you know what, I'll tell you the secret now. You keep blaming Allah Azza wa Jal for putting you in this planet. In the Torah, in the Bible, in the Talmud, in the Injil, I'll tell you who did this. You did this. I didn't put it on you, you put it on yourself. Have you heard this auntie coming to you and says, and there's always an auntie, okay. And an uncle too, who says, ye azmaish hai ya saza hai. Have you met that auntie yet? Are you that auntie? Have you met that uncle? Yet? मिल लिया ना? पता नहीं आजमाइश है कि सजा है अल्लाह. हर चीज आजमाइश है. There is no punishment. You didn't get that simple? This is what the Quran just said. You took it upon yourself. There is no punishment unless the day of judgment happens. We are Muslims, we should know that. Everything else is a trial. Pain, trial. Happiness, trial. Not going into philosophy right now, just telling you this is how simple it is. So when next time auntie comes, Fatma, कि बेटा punishment मिल रही है, trial है. Auntie, Surah Ahzab. Okay? Surah Ahzab. So, coming to the general source, समझ आ गई सबको? Everybody clear? You and I asked for it. So don't blame Noshaba. You asked for Canberra up there. Okay? She didn't convince you. You asked the biggest problems. And Canberra is not your biggest problem. I'll tell you the biggest problem is. Ryan becoming an MP, fighting for Israel is your bigger problem. And he's gonna, if you don't change anything about this. Because everyone, till now, Australia is the only ally with America which vetoes against every resolution 116 countries give every single time against the war crimes of Israel. 5 people other than America, Australia, Luxembourg, Micronesia, Nicaragua. You know who those little puppets are? They don't even know how to spell their own names. You know, Nicaragua and Micronesia and Luxembourg, they don't count. You know what they are? Those are three countries who enter the UN room where everyone's voting, like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on, so we'll just sit with wherever the Americans are sitting. Because they're supposed to ask for tea and we're supposed to bring them a cup of tea. So they don't even matter. Australia matters. Australia is not just any other country. And the problem is not Australia. The problem is you in Australia. The problem is you in Canberra. The problem is the problems of the world while you are in Canberra. The problem is you being an adult in Canberra while the problems were going on around the world. That's the bigger problem. That's what Allah is saying. You don't even know what you were asking for. Putting your hand in the cookie jar, you didn't even know what was going on. No, we told you when you said, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." Yes, sir. Upar ka, ya Allah, upar ka darja 7, number 7 chahiye Firdaus. Not just you. I mean, I know I was there. I'm not. You know, you have no idea. So these are all conscious decisions. My slide format does not work on this station, so it's going to be all black and white and no pictures. Okay, we're going to send you the slide decks. It'll have all the funnels. Let me just explain to you where I was. All of this is covered, by the way. Yeah, so there are three kinds of Muslims that you're going to actually encounter. Immigrants only, okay? In Pakistan, there are only two kinds of Muslims, non-believing Muslims and people who think they're Muslims are not Muslims. Okay, so there is a believing Muslim and then there's a non-believing Muslim and don't focus on that. Let me not distract you. No, don't read. Look at me, it's all right. I need you to understand, because without the diagrams, it's going to be a little difficult. You're going to start reading it. Anyone who's ever read psychology at any level? No? Oh yeah, you are? Okay. So you understand what an existential crisis is. You don't have to be a psychology major to understand that. Every immigrant knows existential psychology, crisis. Okay, especially girls, you know it way more because you feel, you have a bigger spectrum of emotions. Okay, that's natural, that's medical, that's science. Okay, what's your name? Ramin, so how old are you? 12. 10? Oh, 12. I was thinking you were 10. So 12. Ramin, you're going to feel more. You have brothers? You're going to feel more of the world than your brother, okay? Don't judge him. He's not dumb. Okay, we just don't have enough brain, which means we're dumb, by the way. We don't have enough brain. But he's got different intelligence, you got different intelligence. Girls feel more. You get a true feeling of the world, okay? Boys don't, we don't. So what we do is, we ask the next guy and he doesn't feel it. So what we do is we form a conclusion based on the number of people that we are actually talking to. You can actually get the true feeling, okay? So you're born here?
No, Melbourne.
Oh, okay, Australia, yeah, okay. So your parents from?
Pakistan.
Oh, you're her parent? Okay, so you're from?
Pakistan.
No, where?
Islamabad.
Oh, you're from Islamabad? Nice, okay.
Nice to see you here.
Yes, same here.
The videos बहुत देखी.
Yeah, वीडियो इस्लामाबाद में मुलाकात होगी इंशाल्लाह तो या गांव की है बनता है ना गांव की है बनता है Yeah, I'll tell you why. मैं क्यों ये डाकखाने में ला रहा हूँ That's part of my demand of psychology. Okay, I landed in Melbourne. Okay, I'll tell you what, 10th, maybe what, 9th, 10th. I got terrified first day because of the kind of flight I got. Did not know. One of my teammates booked that flight. Okay, and as soon as I entered Melbourne, आपका नाम क्या? Nasir. The way I've been treated by Melbourne, my hosts, makes me believe that I cannot survive without them. You know, It's not just the desi culture, but it's the personalization of my hosts, taking care of little things, and so all that flight thing is washed away. And, everything, they're taking care of everything. As much as they can, because I'm trying to run away from them and they're trying to chase. Literally, I swear to God, I'm running, hiding, and they're chasing me, finding me, so that they can take care of me. That's what your own people do for you. That's called community. That's called a bond. Okay? That's what Fatima, you said, when an immigrant comes out, lives in a totally different land, he does not get that. He requires that. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's basic demand of human beings. So that everybody comes together and helps me wherever I'm down, whatever I'm suffering, let alone bleeding for whatever I'm going through. So if you don't get that, you feel less worthy. It's called self-worth. If you have enough of self-worth pattern, all of a sudden the next stage comes. You know what that is? Zero or breaking or fracturing the self-esteem. Once your self-esteem breaks, you're a nobody. You are a who? You are a nobody. Forget Australians and accents and English and parliaments and Israel. No. Your next door neighbor is going to step over you and you would want him to do that. Zero self-esteem people want the pain. They feel as if they're getting some attention. So they're worth something. Even if someone steps on my head or face, even that is something. That's low self-esteem. That's why Fatima, immigration, hijrah is such a big thing, because you start from zero self-esteem. Your father never tells you this. You know why? You're too young. He wants to protect you. He fights this battle every day to create his self-esteem. I swear to God, that's the toughest battle. Tougher than Gaza and Israel. A battle of invisible, infinite variables going on. Color, creed, English and grammar and money and car and house and next door neighbor, his car, my family back home, my friends, my classmates, everything coming into comparison. There's a big guy, Vroom, with a V, read him up, okay? At your age, you should know that. He came up with this book. I teach that book. That's why. Where he came up with this weird phenomena, which is now a quotient. It's called Vroom's quotient. How to measure the equity of a human being versus the equity of another human being. We compare that every single time. It's called the coefficient of input versus the outputs. Whatever I give as work and I get in return versus my colleague who gives whatever input, and then if he gets more output with the same input, no matter what kind of output I'm getting, I'm still going to be demotivated. Okay? Not complicating this, what I'm saying is, self-esteem, beta, jab zero hoti hai, you have no idea. That is the lowest part of your, lowest point in your life. And zero self-esteem, man can never be a father. He can never be a mother. And you know what the problem is? He cannot be a husband and she cannot be a wife. That's why, if you're new in Australia, I do not know Ghaib, but in 10 years, you're going to have extramarital problems. Most probably. Because Pakistanis and Indians don't get self-esteem developed inside their own countries because of whatever crooks that we're actually living with. And not just Imran Khan, Nawaz Sharifs. I'm talking about your school teachers as well. I'm talking about your regular Joes. Everyone's trying to, do whatever they can. They hurt the fabric of the child's self-esteem, and as soon as he develops into some sort of a decision maker, he runs to countries like these, and as soon as he comes here, he's already suffering from low self-esteem, and this is a battlefield for the big and mighty. A low self-esteem guy is never going to win it. Never. So what he's going to do is, he's going to chase the goatees. You know why? And you know what those women will be? Not his friends. Do you know who they're going to be? No point for guessing those kind of women. Only to satisfy his self-esteem. And the wives are going to do the same thing. And you're not going to expect from a desi woman disloyalty, extramarital affair, infidelity. You don't expect that. So it's going to be twice the shock. Twice the shock. You expect this from a desi man, any man. You're trained into thinking men are going to cheat on you. But we are trained into thinking even if women cheat on, desi woman doesn't, Muslim woman doesn't. So that becomes such a bad, shocking, devastating event for us that we do twice the reaction. That's the spiral. God forbid you're going to enter in the next 10 years. If you're newly immigrant, especially in Australia, if you have that sort of, ST definition. So where are the symptoms and indicators? Regular indicators. I talk to boys. I'll tell you what the girls say. The boys say, sir, you know what, आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया टूर पे नजरों की हिफाजत की टेक्निक सिखाएं सर. Like really? Yeah, that's what your bigger problem is? Sir, have you not been to Melbourne yet? Have you not been out? And I said, yeah, I've been out. I've seen enough creatures like you. Yeah. नज़रों की हिफाजत तो मुझे आपके थ्रू अपनी करनी चाहिए. Do you know your wife and kids require a real man with high self-worth and self-esteem who's going to call the shots, whose bigger achievement is not कि वो मेरे तो नीचे भी गोरे काम करते हैं. That's his bigger achievement. That's it. That's the epitome of life. Imagine how low our self-esteem would be that this is some achievement level in your matrix. So don't read everything here. Just try and understand what's going on out there. Okay. So your first generation immigrant is self-motivated, very self-motivated. It takes a lot of work to come out of Pakistan. Not paperwork, mental work. Paperwork to hota hi hai. Mental work, decision, convincing. Well, no, not convincing. Everyone wants you to come out. But he's super motivated. And then all of a sudden, he comes into this sort of country, and first thing he loses is his identity. Why? Because, that's why I said, apne zara clerics ke naam bataएं. Because you rightly pointed out, sir, all the people that you're going to go through, Islam ki core jo hamari identity hai, the thing that we actually cherish the most, no matter what you take off, take my clothes off, take my skin off, cannot take Islam off. We all have that in common. Take my passport off, yeah. Take my kids away. Don't take my Islam away. That's what we are. And you know what the problem is? That's the first thing anyone's going to take away. You know why? Because usko ground hi nahi kiya hua. We have not centralized the function of Islam, the purpose of Islam. And if you do not know the purpose of being in any company, how are you going to remain in that company? Whatever job that you do, if you don't know the purpose of the company and your purpose in the company, then how are you measuring the worth of your own self in that company? Think about it. What kind of contribution are you doing in that company if you don't even know what the company does or what you have to do for that company? That's something that mainstream Islam misses. I'll tell you why. Because we were influenced in the 1700s, 1800s, when Muslims were losing their system, their whole political system in 1924 fell down on its face, and Winston Churchill did not just draw lines on the map, he drew lines inside our minds as well. Okay? That's the problem most clerics are not solving. That's the problem most Muslim speakers are not telling you, because they're taking that literature of what to do in Islam from the time when Islam was already an established system in the world. So they're going to quote you all the big names, literally from Ibn Kathir to Ibn al-Qayyim, from Ibn Arabi to Ibn Hisham. Every hadith, every ayah, everything, and then the reference of the tabi'ins and taba tabi'ins and, till 200 years ago. But they keep forgetting that at that time, Muslims were not dying to go to Canberra in Miami. Muslims were inside a central system when they were writing all of these books. Muslims never suffered from that problem of existential crisis. Never. Now Muslims can't even, for example, Australian dollar is clinged up with an index with the US dollar. You know, everybody knows that? So is the Pakistani rupee, right? So is the Japanese yen. What is that index? You know the index, right? You know that there is a measuring instrument. An American president can't just say, you know what, today the dollar should be about 500 Australians. You cannot do that. There's a certain system. Okay? There's a regulation of how currency moves up and down.
So is it against the gold?
Yeah, the bullion. Yeah. It is against the gold, but not just against the gold. There's a lot of other variables now. We cannot go in that detail, but yeah, it's primarily gold, yeah. But gold remains the same. There's so many things that keep on changing. For example, now, you know, after Russia, Ukraine, there's going to be a lot more. But you know, there's so much that goes on because of the kind of resources you already have. It's called reserves. So, amongst other things, there's an index, there's a process. Just like that, a Muslim worth can only be measured if there's a central capital index. And there was. That's why America used to pay tax to who? To Muslims. Just to live in the seas, trade in the seas of the world, of the planet. Benjamin Franklin used to pay tax to the Muslim empire so that we can trade in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea. That's a standard practice of, you know, the empire. If you want to come across anything that is, you know, around our airspace, you got to pay tax for it. It's simple. It's that simple. And that's why most Pakistanis don't know that. Most Pakistanis are Muslims because some non-Muslim man tried to rape some non-Muslim woman, and that non-Muslim woman, in Karachi by the way, that non-Muslim woman said, you know what, there's only one system that has the value and worth of a woman. I'm going to write letter to that guy, and he's not going to let you go, because this is a crime in his books. In Karachi, there was no system. Nobody knew Islam in that system. So she wrote a letter. There was a ship. They were traveling in a ship. She wrote a letter, and she gave it to the guy in the ship. That, who is going to take this letter to the worst man in the history of Muslims, which is Hajjaj bin Yusuf, but still running a system of Islam, which is going to measure my worth, because I'm a Muslim woman. And all of a sudden, this one guy just runs away with the letter, takes it to Hajjaj bin Yusuf, and he says, a Muslim woman was touched. And he sends the army, and all of us now are Muslims. To protect a woman, we are 300 million Muslims now. To protect a woman, we are all 300 million Muslims. That's the value of a Muslim. And of all the people, the most insecure woman is Pakistani woman now. She's afraid of not non-Muslim, she's afraid of the most Muslims in Pakistan. She can't cross the street, and that's why you feel relieved in Canberra that no Pakistani is staring at me.